Olá, pessoal, bom dia, tudo bem? Estamos aqui para mais uma live and ALiVE, num horário diferente no dia de hoje, começando às 10 da manhã, por questões do fuso horário. Nosso convidado especial, Anthony Dolphin, que vem lá da Inglaterra, e é com muito prazer que a gente recebe aqui esse great teacher. A live vai ser hoje toda em inglês, e vocês podem comentar em português ou em inglês, ok? E já vou chamar o Anthony aqui para participar com a gente, só um minutinho. Hello, Anthony.
Hey.
Hey,
Hi,
how are
Alicia. I'm very well, thank you. You?
you? Good, I'm fine, thanks.
Good. Bom
Very
dia.
nice to
Good
have you
afternoon,
here.
yeah. Sorry?
It's great to have you here, straight from England.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Yeah. So it's
Very
nice to see you.
Yes, it's great to have you here in live and ALiVE, you know.
I feel half alive.
If you're half alive.
Yeah. Is that enough?
Yeah, that's fine.
I've got to turn it up. I've got to turn it up for a bit for a Brazilian audience, I think. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Can't do this quiet English thing.
Yeah, we have to show a little of the comments. There's some people saying good morning here. Look at that.
Oh, good morning.
Oh,
Good afternoon.
yeah. Vada Kendler, my wife, saying good morning.
Hi, Vada. Good morning,
Melissa Myrink.
Mel. Hi, Mel.
Hi, Mel.
Nice to hear from you. Mel's a Cultura teacher, yeah?
Yeah.
Hello, yeah.
Yeah, good. Very nice to have English teachers here today for
very good ones
to watch our little chat, isn't it?
Yeah.
Great. How are things there in Dartmouth?
Well, yeah, and it's kind of properly autumn now, just moving into winter, so it's getting a bit colder every day and a little bit darker in the evening. But it's been quite a nice summer, but obviously everywhere a strange year everywhere. So spent a lot of time at home and a lot of time in Dartmouth, but it's a nice town to be stuck in. Yeah. Nice place. Lots of nice walks and places to see and changing seasons.
Yeah.
And so there are worse places to be stuck for a long time than Dartmouth. Yeah.
Yeah, in a way, it's good to be in the countryside, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I lived in cities most of my life, in big cities, but yeah, I appreciate small towns and countryside more now.
Yeah. Okay, Anthony, I'm gonna you just make a little introduction about you. You were director of studies, Devon School of English, our dear Devon School of English. But you have a teaching experience for more than 20 years, haven't you?
Yeah, a long time. And since I after I left university, and I studied fine art at university. I was a painter, and I still paint. So fine art was my background, and I was an art teacher in London for a while, but it was difficult to get enough work at that time. Art teachers like to die in that job because it's one of the easiest jobs going, teaching art. So there's all these old people hanging on to their jobs, get like 1 day or 2 days a week. So after struggling as an art teacher, I thought, well, English teaching is a way to travel and get work when I was in London. So I retrained as an art teacher, as an English teacher rather, and started to work in London. Then I moved to Greece, and then moved to Japan. First as a teacher, then I worked as a director of studies, which is kind of like a headmaster kind of job, I guess, in a school or a group of schools. Looking after teachers, teacher training, that kind of thing. And I also worked in publishing in Japan as well, making educational materials. And
you stayed in Japan for what, 10 years?
Yeah, 10 years. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, a long time, isn't it?
It's a long time. Yeah, I might have to go back. There are no jobs left in England.
Yeah. Oh, really?
But, yeah, and then the Devon School, I was at Devon School for over 10 years as well. until that
Yeah.
closed recently.
Yeah. Sad news about Devon.
Sad news about the school, yeah, and there's a lot of schools in a similar situation in the UK and throughout Europe, and I guess throughout the world. People not traveling at the moment. Hopefully, will come back soon. So yeah, we're all adjusting and changing to a different way to do what we do. And deliver lessons to students. Everyone's getting more used to this kind of thing online.
Yeah, online.
It takes a while to adjust to. It takes time to find a way to do what you did before online, but yeah, we're getting better, I think.
Yeah, you have to move on, haven't we?
Yeah.
And you also taught in Greece.
Yeah.
Any other country?
Well, I've as you know, I've worked in Brazil and come over to Brazil and worked in different places: Switzerland, Austria,
all right,
Hungary, Greece, and Japan, obviously, Taiwan, Korea, different places for shorter periods, but for longer periods, where I lived and worked was in Greece and Japan. Yeah, Greece was a good experience. We had a kind of stupid idea because we were living in London, my girlfriend at the time, and we thought it'd be great to live in the countryside. Like, people who never lived in proper countryside. People who lived in a city, and they think, yeah, let's go to the middle of Greece. And we lived in a very small place.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's nothing to do, pre-internet. So very beautiful, and the scenery is nice, and you can look at the mountains. But yeah, it was the wrong time. In your 20s, I got bored. After about 2 days, I thought this is a big mistake. But it was a nice place, a great place to travel, great place to holiday. Greece.
Yeah, beautiful.
Not always ideal to work there, but it was interesting. Yeah, and Greek people are fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and you also have a master's degrees in the applied linguistics, TESOL.
Yeah, applied linguistics and TESOL. I did that at the University of Leicester. Yeah, that was that was useful. The research side and developing your own things you research are interesting. So my dissertation was about perception of intonation, how people hear intonation, what they make from it, what they take of it, if it isn't their native intonation, because that's a very important thing when you're listening to a language, is trying to understand the sound system. When I listen to Brazilian Portuguese, I don't really have any idea when one word has stopped and another word has started, or when a phrase has begun or stopped, or what this intonation might mean. It's useful if you understand.
Yeah.
But my first master's was in philosophy of art, really, aesthetics and visual theory. So very, very different. Yeah.
Different, but it helps in a way.
I mean, it's I mean, I still think the thing I kind of know best and most comfortable with is art and design, and the thing that I feel most confident doing in a way. But the experience as an art teacher was actually really useful, because if you're teaching someone art, the first thing most people think, I can't be taught art. I can't be taught to draw better, and I can't improve, and it's somehow you're natural, or it's just aptitude, or you're born with it, and which was useful, because in a way you've got to show people little strategies, you've got to build confidence, and it's always showing, not telling. So that became really important, because a lot of language teaching is demonstration. It's learning how to do something. It doesn't really matter how much you know about the grammar and how much vocabulary you kind of know of, if you can't use it and produce it. So it's we call procedural knowledge, rather than just a knowledge of something. So in a way, the art teaching helped, I think. I kind of learnt a lot by teaching people who their first thought was, I can't draw. That was their starting position. I can't draw. You draw something and they think, I can't do that. I can't find a way to do that. Because that's what learning a language feels like when you start and you can't say anything. You can just say, how much is this beer? and it feels impossible to get 5,000 words, 10,000 words, to be fluent, to listen, to understand. Yeah, it seems such a big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a way, I think that's the feeling in anything we're going to start learning, isn't it?
Yeah.
Even
The starting is the hardest in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, I think in some ways, when you learn a language, sometimes the starting period, the foundational, the elementary period, sometimes is more rewarding because you see quicker progress. It's like, here's 20 words I didn't know last week. Now I know them and I can use them. I had nothing. Sometimes in the middle, it's harder. What we call intermediate stages, where you get a bit flat and it's hard to see your progress. Sometimes then you need a teacher to show you, look, you're different from last week. I can show you, look, 2 months ago you couldn't do this. Now you can do this. You used to have problems here. There were errors here. You made mistakes here. Those have gone. You can do this better. So those kind of intermediate stages and the higher stages, sometimes harder to keep going. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about Brazilian learners, but the same thing for most learners is the motivation is probably the hardest thing. Yeah. What makes you keep going?
Yeah.
What makes you keep trying, not giving up, not stopping. That's probably the hardest thing.
And where are you from originally? Where were you born?
I was born in a place called, well, just south of Stoke-on-Trent, but I grew up in a town called Stafford, which is in the North Midlands. It's kind of halfway between Birmingham and Liverpool, I guess.
Stafford. Near Stafford upon Avon.
Yeah. Well, once a year, we always found one tourist who made that mistake, who came to Stafford when they wanted to go to Stratford.
Yeah, Stratford. Yeah,
someone would quite often come to the station and say, where did Shakespeare live, and where's Anne Hathaway's cottage? Yeah, Stafford. Stafford is the county town of Staffordshire, but it's a fairly it's kind of a market town because of history. But my main feeling growing up there was, how do I leave this place? How the hell when can I get out of this place? And being a very ungrateful teenager,
really?
wanting to go to big cities, wanting to go to London and New York or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of natural for people from small towns. Yeah.
How long did you stay there? Until what?
16? Oh yeah, until I was 18. I left home at 18 to go to university and never came back. But my father still lives there, and still have some family in that area. Stoke-on-Trent is famous in the world for pottery. Places like Wedgwood and Dalton and those kind of pottery places, and had a long history making pots. Not so much now.
I asked you this question because I have we have one question here from my dear cousin from London, Ila Wicks.
Okay.
She said, it seems that you have a very natural accent. Is it your original accent, or have you changed it? Or do you change it to teach?
I think I definitely have a teacher voice. This is probably like now I'm speaking quite fast now, and I'm sorry, I can't speak Portuguese. I would have a teacher voice which is slower than this, I guess. But I think I definitely speak more carefully since I'm a teacher. And I think, if you heard me talking to my brother, my wife can't understand much when I talk to my brother. It's very quiet and mumbly and probably sounds a bit more like my accent. But I never had a Stoke accent, or particularly a Stafford accent. My mother's side of the family are all Irish, and I think they had a different kind of accent, and left home early, lived in lots of different countries, time in America and time in Japan, obviously, and long time in London. So I think my accent has got very kind of bland, but it's a northern accent generally. It's got you can tell I say bath, not bath, and I say glass, not glass. So it's kind of northern.
She's correcting me. I said natural accent, but it's neutral.
Neutral.
Yeah.
I think it is quite neutral because people find it hard to place me. They don't think I'm from, you know, the Northwest. They know I'm not from the Southeast. Yeah, so it is quite neutral. Yeah, and I've done quite a lot of work like this in recordings and singing and some voiceover things as well. So I think you don't want to sound too regional. So probably I've got rid of that subconsciously. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe as a teacher. And how? Yeah, you said we're going to talk about the Brazilian student, Brazilian students, and then how you see, you know, the challenges of teaching Brazilian students, or, you know, of course you taught all over the world and many different nationalities, but particularly Brazilians have something you would like to talk about.
Well, I think I mean, the things we said about, you know, what's the challenge, what's difficult for students is the same everywhere. I think it is, you know, it is the motivation and kind of, you know, if students know themselves well, if they know what kind of person they are, they kind of know what's comfortable for them, what's suitable for them. But I think in a way, it's the same all over the world. The things that stop people learning are problems with motivation, problems with kind of anxiety. Anxiety is the biggest, we call filter. You know, the biggest filter to learning is if you're anxious. If you're anxious in any way, it's going to stop you. So one thing, and all of these things are very much generalizations, but I think if you ask lots of teachers who've taught Brazilian students, one thing is we don't, certainly for an English person, you know, who worries about all kinds of stuff, Brazilians seem not so anxious. They seem quite relaxed. They seem kind of, they're not worried about taking risks as much, maybe as compared to a Japanese learner or a Chinese learner or an English learner. You know, they seem to have that spontaneity in the culture and a kind of a willingness to take some risks. So that lack of anxiety is really a really important thing when you've got a group of learners. You know, you've got people who don't seem that stressed. They'll have a go at stuff. You know, they'll try. I think the other thing, teachers generally find that Brazilians are very communicative, talk, and like to talk, and that usually means if you have that kind of culture, the students tend to prize fluency and communication and meaning over control.
Yes.
Yeah? So I'm terrible. I'm a terrible language learner because I'm always thinking, I made a mistake. Oh, I put the adjective in the wrong place, and the sentence is not right, and I'm planning it and worrying about accuracy and control. Whereas all the best learners and the best communicators are the people who just go blah 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 blah. Is this okay? You get the meaning, you get the message. Keep going, keep talking. Fluency as the priorities, and I think Brazilians tend to prize that more, and they quickly become focused on meaning. And that really helps. They want to get the message across. Communication, social groupings seem more important. Less. So I think that's a useful thing.
Yeah, especially if you compare to other nationalities. Yeah, a lot more strict or worried about mistakes.
Yeah.
If you're too worried, you get stuck a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like a stereotype, but stereotypes are sometimes based on that they're 80% true or something, you know. And you seem to, you know, you can see it in Brazilian footballers or, you know, Brazilian musicians or dancers. You can see that there's a kind of a fluency and not less kind of concern or uptightness that seems to help. In terms of, you know, the challenges, you know, are, I mean, there are cultural differences, which I think from an English person's perspective, when you have Brazilian students, you know, in a group particularly, I mean, I think this is proven in research and so on. Brazilians, you speak at a higher volume, actually louder. Generally, what we call the rest level, so we can kind of gauge what a rest level.
Italians.
I don't know. I haven't seen the World League table, but yeah, I mean Greeks and Bulgarians, and there's lots of loud speakers, but normal conversations. So lots of a group will sound, to an English person, will sound very animated, will sound very loud quite quickly, and which isn't a problem. But the other Brazilian feature, which I noticed when I visited you in Belo and so on, being in meetings, is that the turn taking for Brazilians. If you have a meeting of 6 people in England or Japan or Germany or something, it's fairly clear. I'm talking, and then I pass over to Gert or Helen or to Jane, or you have a very clear. We call it turn taking in linguistics. Just take turn taking. Maintaining conversations is quite a strict rule-based thing. When an English person sees a Brazilian meeting, they think, "What the hell is going on? This looks like 8 people shouting, 8 people shouting in a room quite productively." People understand stuff, but it looks like they're all talking over each other, and nobody's waiting or listening or reacting, commenting in a kind of ordered way. It looks like kind of chaos for us, but it isn't. But it's to us, it looks like a. So that's an interesting thing.
Yeah, no, sometimes it's chaos. Sometimes it is, and then we have to put some order.
So maybe online is good. You've got the mute button. You can just turn people off. Or,
yeah, some people ask me, the other day we were in a web meeting, and some people say, can you teach me how to mute someone? Because
I think teachers have been waiting 1,000 years to be able to mute their students, and now they can just turn them off, or the teacher or something.
Just press a little button. We have the 2 comments here for you. Valdis, I love your accent, Anthony.
Okay. Yeah.
And Mel is saying, Brazilian students have this obsession with a perfect accent. They always want to sound as native speakers.
Yeah. So it's a good aim. I think it's a nice aim. I mean, I think if you put lots of energy into the sound and the sound system, sound comes before grammar. It's obviously the sound system is much more rigid. There's much more rules in the sound system of a language than the grammar. So actually, someone trying to copy or mimic, the sound shapes and where the breaks are and when the tones fall, you will probably get a long, long way just with that effort, trying to mimic people. It can be very small things that you do. It's tough for Brazilian Portuguese because it's Brazilian Portuguese is a syllable timed language. I don't think regular Portuguese is, but so that means English is a stress time language. So all that really means is that Brazilians tend to put some energy. Mel will know this well. They tend to put energy in lots of words that we don't think are important. So we want the energy in the important word and the key thing. And I'm saying this thing because I want to stress it. And where Brazilians tend to, there's a lot of syllable time language speakers do, they put energy into kind of random words sometimes. And we think, why have you stressed the or them? And it makes sometimes some odd meanings for us. And there are a few different things like that. The biggest thing, I think Mel, when she was in Devon, she'll remember this, but the biggest thing really, and this goes for lots of speakers trying to speak British English in particular, is to start sentences nice and high. So you start nice and high like this, and you have somewhere to fall. And you start the next sentence, the next clause a little bit higher, and you have some way to fall. Because there's a kind of a lower pitch generally in Brazilian Portuguese, and you have a kind of a narrower range of tones. So it helps if you can start a little bit higher and have somewhere to fall. We call that the paratone. It's the place where you start, particularly in formal speaking. So starting a sentence higher, quite unnatural for you, But I think just doing that is a really good. Today we are going to talk about da 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 da, and the more control you can get in that tonal fall and that melody, actually gives you a kind of authority as a speaker as well. You kind of control when this sentence is going to end. We know it's going to end. So that kind of stuff, that kind of, focus on pronunciation is really productive. I think pronunciation, intonation is the most neglected part probably of learning. There's probably too much emphasis on grammar and tense systems and things like that. And pronunciation, I think, gets you much further, much quicker. If you're learning the language.
It's really true. Camila is saying here too. Oh, it is true. Good tip. And I remember when you came here to Brazil to talk about that lawyers, the English law, English lawyers course. That about intonation for lawyers, which was very important to show credibility and how to
that's
meetings and everything.
Yeah, I mean, because it's very much it's a very strong feature of British English, but it exists in other Englishes as well. But this we call declination. All languages go down. In British English, it's become a kind of a grammar and a meaning thing, that the more you control that fall and the more you fall, you sound like you have more authority. Young people and teenagers speak quite quickly and their voice tends to go up a little bit at the end because it's a kind of a polar question intonation. So it sounds a little bit like a yes or no question. And if I'm paying, how much do lawyers charge in Brazil? I don't know, but in England, like 80 pound an hour, and the lawyer, sounds like a 19-year-old who doesn't know what they're talking about, and they say, I think this should be okay. Just you don't need someone to sound like that. You need authority, and that authority, it's quite a deep cultural thing. It might be coded through being a man, unfortunately. Just men tend to do that more. They tend to, and the older you get, the more you feel you can keep people waiting for the end of the sentence, and you get old men who just sit and talk like that. But that authority there comes from intonation. It comes from knowledge and power, I suppose, as well. But it's a useful thing to learn, especially if it's not native to you. But I think it's a useful thing for young people to learn, for young women to kind of master a little bit and get men to shut up and listen to them and things like that.
And Melissa is also saying here that she does remember I do remember it is very different from Portuguese. I think she mentioned when she was with you.
Yes. I know there are quite a few differences, aren't there? I'm pretty sure Portuguese is a stress time language, European Portuguese, in most parts of Portugal. So the Brazilian Portuguese certainly has quite an interesting sound. One thing I remember is again in a pronunciation thing. So, for example, if I say, she's a lovely woman, isn't she? English, we would go down because it's not a real question. I would say, isn't she? It's a lovely question, isn't she? I think in Brazilian Portuguese, all of those little questions, they all go up, so they all sound like real questions to us.
Yes.
It's a lovely question, isn't she? It's like,
yeah.
Are you sure? Or I'm not sure if you think she's nice or not. So interesting transfer things happen like that all the time. I think when most young people learn a new language, they're probably worried about the sounds they don't have, like the individual, we call them phonemes, the individual sounds that you don't have in your language, like th, the, and ch, for example. But in a way, in context, you tend to always be able to work out those things much more than intonation problems, which tend to have a big impact if we think you're being rude, or we're not sure if this is a question, or this sounds very forceful, this sounds very direct. Whereas the individual phonemes, I think a and is a difficult one. I remember for Brazilians, yeah, a bad, bed.
Yes.
But actually, in a conversation, if you're going to say I'm going to bed, and it's 10 o'clock, I won't struggle to understand that. I'll get it, even if your isn't amazing.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's good to master those things. It's good to try and get all of those phonemes. You have fewer vowel sounds in Portuguese, for example, but it's not always as critical as some of the other things. Yeah.
Yeah, we have difficulties with L.
Yeah.
And S as well.
Yes.
Our S is a Z. Yeah.
Yeah. So it kind of moves between the S and the Z. Yeah. Yeah. There are a few. I mean, rut and what, and yeah. I think was another one. Mostly, I found it in the like and we have a longer one like R, like R in car. But and I remember was an issue sometimes. But yeah, you can. I mean, that takes a long time and a certain kind of patience to keep coming back to. That's very much like learning to play an instrument or something. You won't put it right quickly if you don't have that sound in your native language. That's going to take some effort to get a rut sound or a fat sound. Or it's not a quick thing to do. It takes a little bit of time and looking in the mirror and
Yeah. Sure. Okay, great. Shall we move on?
Yeah. Just actually, I'll ask you a question, Louisa, because I don't think I know. You had an English teacher at school, did you? Did you have a native teacher at school, or did you get most of your learning of English from travel to the UK?
No, I didn't have a native speaker teacher here in Brazil. No, I had good teachers with good background and experience, but not native speakers. I had native speakers only when I moved to London.
Yeah, I mean, some of the best teachers I've ever met have been Brazilian teachers, and
Really?
So I think it's a very high standard, and very, very impressive. Teachers I've met from Brazil. Yeah, really good. And we didn't talk. We talked about challenges a lot. I mean, one of the big advantages, I guess, in a way, although you're a very big country, and sometimes this is very hard for an English speaker to understand. That the idea that almost no one else speaks Portuguese in the world. You can go to Portugal or Macau or something, but you haven't got many options where you can't just go to LA and speak Portuguese. Maybe you can get by a little bit, but it's that kind of starting point. So all the young Brazilian kids that I saw, they all in their head right away was to access the world, I need English. To get to the modern world, to get access to this stuff, movies and to music and to certain types of learning, English is going to be a really important thing, which English people don't have. Americans don't have that. We just know, if I'm learning French, it's a hobby. It's not really as vital.
In Brazil, it's a cultural thing as well, because we get a lot from the United States and from Europe, and we tend to value that much more, maybe more than we value our culture here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that can be that's a kind of a filter as well sometimes, because people will resent that. People will think, oh, it's annoying. Why do I have to learn this language just because America has it? Or I think that can be a filter and stop people. And it's a very real one, I think.
And also we always learn here that English is a worldwide language, that you have to learn English if you want to improve, in your career and everything and all that stuff, and blah blah blah. So
Yeah,
it's the
and
most
that's
important language.
it is. But that again, that's one of the, it sounds like a motivation, but I would say it's not a motivation. It's just a fact. It's a necessity and a need. It doesn't actually, strangely, it doesn't motivate you. I don't think, because in a way it probably adds anxiety. And also, I think motivation is very local. It's just like, I'm enjoying this thing. Genuinely, I'm enjoying this thing, and I'm enjoying this thing now. Motivation is very local. It's fleeting. It will come and it will go. I might be a different person in the morning and the afternoon. There's so many things going on. So sometimes that I know it's important, in a way, gets in the way. It's you play drums, and musicians, they don't learn music because it's important, but they'll keep going. They'll keep going. You'll keep playing the drums. I keep playing the piano because it's just pleasure, and you enjoy the thing in itself, and that's the motivation. Ideally, every teacher is trying to get from their classroom and from their students, is that they're enjoying this thing now, they're having pleasure now. This will keep them going. Maybe they can take that pleasure home. That's what keeps people going. Thinking I need this for my job, or I've got to pass a test. Yeah, of course it will push you in a way, but it won't add to the pleasure. It won't remove any anxiety. So in a way, you're always trying to get those things out of your classroom, those kind of barriers,
And
and to
nowadays with it, with the technology as well, because in Brazil we have a percentage of the population that has access, easy
yeah,
access to learning a language
yeah,
and go abroad, and to and it's a small percentage of the population that can do that. So the majority can't go abroad to learn a language. And then
yeah,
nowadays, but you always see people that don't have the money support or condition to go abroad or to learning English through different channels
somehow, yeah,
somehow. And
yeah,
it's great that in Brazil, because you see people, what you mentioned before, that not worried about making mistakes, but speaking.
yeah, and a desire to find out, just to. I mean, I've met some phenomenal, probably the most natural, second language users I've ever heard of. Often that kind of, 11 or 12, they just got into watching English TV series, or some manga thing, or they got some obsession where English helped them access this stuff. They become obsessed with it, and very little formal route, formal as in, learning rules and all that stuff, grammar and so on. They just had a need, but mostly they had a pleasure just to keep driving, because they love this show, or they love this
Yeah.
music. That's the driver. I mean, I think there still is access. There is still access and circumstances, if you can't get that stuff. But it does. I mean, it's a good message to send, that it's not. You don't really learn the language in the classroom. You might get help there, and in fact, for people who struggle with motivation, and who struggle to analyze themselves, why they can't learn, what's stopping me learning, why can't I do this as well as other people, what's getting in the way. Teachers are good for that. Classrooms are good places to help get people habits, better habits. Teachers can diagnose those things. I mean, but a teacher really wants to make themselves redundant. If they're any good at all, they want to put themselves out of a job. They want people to go, yeah, thanks, teacher, I'm done. I've got this. Now I can just go on my own. I'll do this 6 hours a day because I love it. If you can get people to do that, you've won. Most people aren't like that. Most learners are much more ordinary, if you like. They struggle. It's hard. Have a good day, a bad day. Sometimes better, sometimes worse. Don't love the thing. They don't love the content. The content is the language, I guess. So
Mhm.
I have to maybe find another way for them to get that energy and that motivation to put time in, because if nothing else, it's the time that you give to something that it's going to help you, get better
Yeah,
and improve. Yeah.
sure. Yeah, great. Yeah. Well, good. We have almost an hour here.
Have we? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's speed up.
Um, uh, can you tell us a little bit about the region you live in? And
Yeah, I live in a county called Devon, which is in the southwest of England, and Devon is, by English standards, one of the bigger. I think it's the second largest
oh, is it?
English county, but that doesn't mean much. I mean, just compared to like Minas Gerais or one of the Brazilian regions, it's very small. But it's got a north coast and a south coast, and it's also got, which is very unusual for England, it's got two pretty wild areas. So Dartmoor in the centre of the county, and in the north of the county, Exmoor, and that's probably one of the more striking features of the county. I live on the south coast in a place called Dartmouth. So
Can
Dartmoor is a national park.
okay.
The national park just means the government, after World War II in 1951, they said we need to protect this area. I know things happen like this in Brazil. We need to protect this area because it's special. It's pretty unique. Got some unique wildlife.
What's the moor mean?
Well, a moor is I don't know what technically makes a moor. It has to be a certain height. It's usually not got many trees. It's a little bit like a desert in a way, because not so many things can grow. It's been damaged, really. It has something called peat. So peat is not really like soil or mud. It's like just vegetation that's rotted down into this kind of spongy top surface. And
Okay.
Dartmoor has granite. I don't know, is that probably the same word in Portuguese, granite or something? Granite under the surface, which was formed,
All right.
60 million years ago or something. The granite's there at the base, quite not so far down. So this is a layer of peat. But the moor itself is a fairly bleak place. It's not particularly habitable, or certainly for long periods of history, it hasn't been very easy to live there. It's very exposed.
Can we show some pictures?
Yeah, sure. You've got some pictures, haven't you?
Would you prefer to go to Dartmoor or Dartmouth?
Yeah, let's do Dartmoor first. Because we'll just trace the.
Okay.
So Dartmoor's had people living there for a long time, back to Neolithic, Stone Age, 10,000 years BC, 8,000 years BC. There's evidence of life there. There are stone circles and stone lines of stone and old villages, Bronze Age villages. And the River Dart is a
That's the River Dart.
River Dart. Yeah, the River Dart starts on the moor. The moor is about 670 meters, the highest point 650 meters, something like that, and then it descends down to the sea in Dartmouth, where I live. So the River Dart starts in Dartmoor and goes down to the sea in Dartmouth. Dart obviously gives the name to Dartmoor and Dartmouth. There's an east and a west Dart.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a beautiful river. I mean, the whole course of the river is beautiful. And I'm not sure what Dart means. Most people think it's a Celtic word. It's something to do with a place where oak grows. And now there are very few trees. There are some old oak forests on Dartmoor, but most of it was cut and used and farmed, and that kind of damaged the soil in lots of areas, in the lower areas. Yeah.
It looks completely clean. Is it real 100% clean from,
Yeah, I mean, there's no industry on that river, or there's very little outflow into the river at all. Yes, it's pretty clean. Yeah, it's very clean. It's very short. I mean, it's only 75 kilometers, I think, in total, something like that. But a winding course. Yeah, it's pretty clean. it flows into a reservoir. So the drinking water that I drink here from the tap comes from the reservoir, offlow from the Darts.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Cold water.
It is pretty cold, yeah, and it floods. It floods. There's no dams or controls. There's a weir, but yeah, so it does flood, but naturally, it's a very wet place. Dartmoor is a very wet place because it's a higher piece of ground, gets lots of Atlantic storms. And then you can see this is the Dart a bit further down towards where I live. It gets a lot wider. This view is from a place called Greenway, which is where Agatha Christie had a house. She lived in Greenway, and that's a view from there. And then it's about, from this view is about just 4 kilometers to the sea and to Dartmouth. Yeah, and Dartmouth, where I live, is the town at the mouth of the river, so that's why Dartmouth. Although we say Dartmouth, we say it very short, Dartmouth. So Dartmouth, which is a very deep mouth of the river, goes into the sea, and yeah, very deep. So big ships can go in there. I think it's 11 kilometers deep at one point. It's actually called a ria, which just means like a deep mouth of a river. But again, it's not a big river by Brazilian standards, or wide by Brazilian standards.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's going through Dartmoor.
Well,
yeah.
Mel is saying that, amazing place. I hope to go back there someday.
Yeah, I think when Mel came, I think Mel she saw the moor with some snow. I may be wrong.
Oh, really?
She can answer. She might. I don't know if there's any pictures with snow. You usually there's not much, you don't get too much snow in Devon, but on the moor, Dartmoor and Exmoor, there's always going to be some snow every year. Hard frost and so on.
Beautiful curves and everything.
Yeah, it's quite. You can see very natural course. That's a place called Sharpham. They grow wine near there, so it's quite a mild area when you get to the lower parts.
Really? They grow wine?
Yeah, they grow good wine at Sharpham. It's probably one of the better English wines.
Doesn't look terroir, a special terroir. I thought it was nice.
Yeah, and yeah, it's a bit higher up, quite rapid. I mean, people canoe down there, and that's also Greenway, where Agatha Christie's garden.
Oh, it gets really wide.
Yeah, it's getting wide. This is getting now towards the sea. That's from Sharpham as well. A bit further down.
Mel is saying that she was there in January.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did she see snow, Mel? I think you did. I'm pretty sure. I think it was your group. Maybe it was a group that went up there and saw some snow and slid around.
Nice. She's saying nice to see and talk to you again, Tony.
Yeah, good to hear from you. This part of the Darts from Totnes, there's no bridge over this river, apart from a bit higher up at Totnes. So for about 15, 18 kilometers, there's no bridge at all. So this view here, you can. There's lots of boats go up and down, small boats, pleasure boats.
Yeah.
Nice. This part of the river was apparently Queen Victoria's favorite view in England. She said the course of the river from Totnes down to Dartmouth was her favorite part of England. She said it was her favorite part of England, I think, because it reminded her of the Rhine, the River Rhine in Germany.
Okay.
So yeah, a good.
Do you get many cinema movies rolling there?
I think there have been. Yeah, yeah, certainly. I think there's probably quite a few set in TV series and films used as locations. I think in the past. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the Agatha Christie connection, obviously, as well.
Yeah.
Dartmoor, the other literary
thing
people might know in Dartmoor is the setting for The Hound of the Baskervilles, which was Arthur Conan Doyle, Sherlock Holmes story, one of the more famous Sherlock Holmes stories. So you've probably seen Sherlock
Mm-hmm.
in Brazil. I think you have that on TV.
Yeah.
There's a setting for that, and lots of old superstitions and so on. Those are the Granite Tours. So the granite.
Oh, the
I
famous
think
granite.
there's about 160. They're called Tours, Tor, which are little crops of granite that stick out in these strange ways at the top.
Okay. Oh, they call tours.
Tours, yeah, Tor.
T-O-R. Okay, tours.
Yeah, Tours, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're always granite peaks where the stone
All right.
comes out. There's some snow. Yeah,
That's the snow,
I'm
yeah.
pretty sure a Brazilian student took this picture. Actually, I think people take their what do you call them, snowboard up there and stuff.
Beautiful and cold.
Yeah, I like walking on the moor when it's cold and when it's windy more than the summer, and when it's hot it always seems more natural.
Okay.
But the wind can be really pretty fierce up there.
Yeah.
And I think you can see some Dartmoor ponies. They've got some wild ponies, small horses.
Ponies. I thought they were really
Yeah,
horses, but ponies. Mm.
yeah, they run wild and have done for a long
Really
time.
wild.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Quite a big population of ponies there. Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
big,
friendly.
long. I don't know how to say that. Long. The hair.
Yeah, mane. Yeah, the mane down there.
Mm.
Yeah, they have got a mane. Yeah, they're pretty tough animals. I think they're pretty tough in the cold and pretty strong. Yeah, there aren't many places with wild ponies left. Dartmoor and Exmoor has some. Yeah.
Interesting, wild ponies.
Yeah, well, they're wild, but they will still take a sandwich from your car if you drive near enough. Yeah. So they're that wild.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the snow again.
Also, probably more Brazilians. I don't know.
Oh yeah, you may have students there.
Because there are a lot of obviously when Brazilian students came, they were very keen to see snow, and same with the Arabic students and so on. They always interested to see snow and wake up in the middle of the night. And that's a stone circle. So lots of I think there are more Bronze Age remains on Dartmoor than anywhere else. It might even be in Europe, but certainly in the UK, maybe in Northwest Europe. There are more Bronze Age remains. So these stone circles and lines of stones, and some are Neolithic as well. Quite mysterious. There are lots of them, hundreds of them. And there are old villages which were abandoned. Dartmoor used to be a lot warmer, and then had like a kind of a mini ice age and got a lot colder and harder and wetter. And it's only relatively recently, in the last since medieval times, that it warmed up again and became slightly inhabitable. But nobody really lives on the high moor. There are no towns or villages really on the high moor.
Yeah.
And these stone crosses, obviously early Christian crosses, sometimes Saxon crosses, Celtic crosses can be found as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. They were engraved, yeah, but
yeah. You can see it probably. I mean, it gets very exposed to the wind and the elements, so you lose some of the detail. But there are some Celtic crosses and Saxon crosses with some carving remaining. You can see and read a little bit. Yeah. It's a great place for that kind of exploration, and it's a good place to walk if you're careful. But I used to live much nearer the moor in Buckfastleigh, and it can be dangerous. A lot of people kind of walk, start off for a gentle walk or get lost, and the phone signals are often, because it's something to do with the granite, often very weak and very poor phone signals. People lose their phone signal.
And they get lost.
And they get lost, and or twist an ankle, or and there are some of the high moor doesn't have many features. It's quite easy to lose your way, especially these days when people don't cross the road without getting Google Maps on. So people think they're going to have it to find a way home, and so the rescue helicopter above the moor is pretty busy.
Yeah.
There's some high moors there.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's probably, again, it's maybe more difficult for someone from South America to understand that we don't have many wild places. It's not very big. It's only 1,000 square kilometers or something. But we don't have much wilderness. We don't have much, somewhere that feels wild. For little parts of the moor, in the middle of the winter, when you're on the top of the moor, you feel like, yeah, this is quite wild. This is, I could get lost and die here. And sometimes that's kind of it's quite a thrilling thing. It's something. It's a feeling that's quite hard to have in England. It's very small islands, fairly close together. People are close together. Quite a busy place, really. So to have anything that's wild and open is quite special.
Yeah, it's great. Beautiful view. You have a kind of road there on the left.
Yeah, there's some the kind of A roads or minor roads that go across it. Yeah. So there's some smaller roads. So you can drive and have quite nice views just on the roads. Yeah. But to find the best places, it's good to.
People don't fly very often there. I mean, parachute or motor.
I think there are. Yeah. What do you call it? Like paragliders. Yeah.
Paragliders,
which I think I saw with you once in Brazil. Some paragliders, didn't I? Jumping off the top of a hill. Yeah. I think people probably do that. Yeah. There are some restrictions because it's a national park on some things, like you can't camp there, so there's no overnight camping. You can't light a fire and stuff like that.
Yeah. That's
Brazil.
Is it Brazil?
Yes, it's Brazil. Yeah. So this is tropical Dartmouth. You can see this is from the other side of the river. This is where the river gets wider. That's my wife Kazuko looking out at the river, and that's Dartmouth. You can see in the background. So this is where the river empties out into the sea. Dartmouth. Yeah.
That's a good picture to make a mix. That's a mixing for the other.
Oh yeah, that's a nice blend. Yeah. So I said that there's no bridge across the river after Tottenham, so you have to take a ferry. So I took the ferry earlier today. Oh, it's gone black there.
Just a second.
Yeah. Yeah, the car ferry. There are two little car ferries. One is very small, like 6 cars or so. And the higher ferry has got 20 cars or something like that. So yeah, it feels quite cut off, Dartmouth, in a way, because there's no bridge there. So you drive onto the little ferry, which is how I used to get to work. That's how you cross. It's quite wide there, but it's only 5 minutes. 5 minutes crossing.
Okay, this picture, you're going to work or you're coming back from work?
There I'm coming home, I think. Yeah. Okay. I'm waiting for the ferry to come to me, and I'm the front of the queue.
Good.
Yeah. It's actually on a kind of a chain. Yeah. So here, this is Dartmouth now, which is
beautiful.
Yeah, very, very pretty town. Plenty of history. Always seems to have taken part in all pieces of English history, from the Crusades and the Armada and wars with the French in the 14th century. Was attacked, and right up to 1620, the Mayflower was at Dartmouth. It was 400th anniversary this year, and right up to D-Day in obviously 1944. American soldiers left from Dartmouth for D-Day landings. But it's a very small town, still a very small town. Actually, population has even strangely gone down in the last 20 years. It's about 5,000 people live there now.
So you had a lot of ships during the war there?
Yeah, there were, yeah. And the Royal Navy has a college there. It's called the Royal Britannia Naval College. So all Royal Navy officers are trained there. So if you want to be an officer in the Royal Navy, you still have to come to Dartmouth and go to the Naval College. It's a beautiful building built in.
Yeah, every time I wrote, Dartmouth,
yeah.
in the Google, it's always the first line that comes is Dartmoor College,
Oh yeah, yes, okay, yeah, Naval College. Yeah, I mean that's
the Naval
it's
College.
a very very important place still. I think the Queen and her husband met there, I think, and yeah, people still go there to train. This is the boatyard.
Yes, pretty.
Hotel there.
During the summer, it must be very lively and.
Yeah, it's popular. Yeah, it's a pretty popular place. They have a regatta. Regatta was started for Queen Victoria, which is kind of a series of boat races. That's in August, but it was cancelled this year,
Yeah, sure.
sadly. But so boat racing and lots of private yachts. And I think for most of its history, I think Dartmouth has always been a pretty wealthy town for lots of different reasons. It used to trade sherry and ports rather with Portugal at one point.
All right, the port wine.
Had its fair share of pirates as well, who did quite well, quite respectable pirates, privateers we call them. They brought quite a lot of money to the town. Trading cod with Canada was very important business for the town. So it's always been quite wealthy, and you can still see it now. There are lots of very large houses and lots of millionaires and probably a few billionaires who live here. Yeah.
Do they fish cod in the region nearby?
No, not at all. But they traded cod. So I think it was one of the places where they landed it and brought it in, mostly from the North Atlantic. Newfoundland, I think, was the trade route.
Okay, yeah.
Canada. I guess just some enterprising people found, well, this is pretty good business, and I think that's probably some connection with Portuguese seafarers, because I think fish and chips is basically the cod part is basically a Portuguese dish, really. I think kind of tempura kind of battered fish is a Portuguese invention. Yeah, so we have the Portuguese to thank for one of our national dishes. Yeah. So yeah, nice town. This is just towards the mouth of the river, and there's Casco looking over the sea, the English Channel. That is, you can't see France, but you can get there in a couple of hours across the sea, and
very nice.
That's actually was used as a fort. That's like a kind of a castle in the English Civil War, where there was like a kind of castle built at the top of this hill, which is called Gallant's Bower, and then at the bottom there's an older castle. And to stop the French, there was a castle on both sides, well, French and Spanish or whoever felt they wanted to attack us. There was a kind of a chain which they could draw up across the river to stop boats coming down the river, and lots of secret gun positions, which are still there. The guns aren't there, but the positions are still there.
And fire all the ships and everything.
Yeah, the cannons, some old cannons are still there. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that's quite a high view. Again, Kingswear is the small town on the other side.
Yeah.
You see out to the right. This view was drawn and made into an engraving by Turner, the most famous English painter, I guess, still the most famous.
Famous painter.
He made a series of 5 drawings and engravings based on this view, pretty much the same height and same view. 1811, he was there. He made it for a series of very popular books, print books about views of England. Yeah, he loved this view particularly from Dyer's Wood. Yeah.
Let me just.
So you can see this is why I said it's a good place to be locked down, having these kind of walks and views.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, great. Beautiful view, beautiful colors and everything. Look at that. Nice.
What kind of flower that is. Yeah.
Beautiful. It's a beautiful countryside, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, Devon is a very, very pretty region. It really is attractive. Yeah. There's actually a steam train that runs down on the other side of the river to Kingswear. The train came in 1864, and I think the original plan was to make a bridge to go over to Dartmouth, but it was either too expensive or difficult because the river's so deep, or but although the bridge has been talked about, and I think Dartmouth people don't particularly want it. I get that feeling. They quite like being cut off.
And this is the I think is the regatta you mentioned. It was
Yeah,
canceled.
that's the regatta. That's the view from my roof garden, the regatta. So they have lots of fireworks and these kind of maroons and things that explode. And this is on the final night of the regatta, I think. There's fireworks. Yeah, this is August usually.
Yeah.
But yeah, fireworks are launched from the river.
It looks like a simulation of the of the wars and the
Yeah, I don't know if it was meant to be. It's kind of there's a hell of a lot of smoke. Even the next day, the fireworks. There's a lot of fireworks, and the next day you still see smoke and kind of morning fog and things. But it's a good firework display. My wife is Japanese, as you know, and she's generally massively disappointed by English fireworks because in Japan they have incredible firework displays. But
oh, really?
she thinks the regatta fireworks are quite good, not great, quite good for England. Yeah.
Good. That's a typical
pedestrianised street. Yeah, very typical kind of view. St Saviour's Church at the end, 13th century church. There are two beautiful old churches. Well, there are three beautiful old churches actually. Yeah, which is just one of the things I like doing is going to old churches. I'd always recommend that for any traveller to England.
Yeah,
it's the best way to see a kind of untouched.
Yeah, for us for Brazilians, that's an interesting point that you see churches in a different way. So I went to many churches where I could hear very nice jazz bands playing. So,
oh wow, yeah.
It would be impossible here in Brazil.
No, it's not allowed. Yeah, and they're more likely to be choirs and classical music, but occasionally you get more. Yeah, but I mean, I saw some amazing churches in Brazil and Tiradentes and São João del Rei and those places which are spectacular. But it's just a good way to see kind of different periods of English history. That hasn't changed. It always one of the great sounds I think of England is church bells, because I often think, well, that's probably the only, apart from birds and singing and stuff, it's probably the only sound that is unchanged, literally unchanged. It's the same bells. These are 700, 800-year-old bells. They sound the same on a Sunday morning as they did on a Sunday morning in 1350.
The bell from your house? No.
Yeah, hear the bell. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, the bells are loud.
Yeah, from the rooftop.
Yeah. You can see it's a bit misty, that view, isn't it? A bit of snow there, but yeah, you can hear the church bells. I can hear St Saviour's bells and St Clement's bells behind us. Yeah, they usually practice on a Thursday. I don't know why. It seems a very English thing. Bell ring is always practiced on a Thursday night, so they ring for like an hour. It was a bit randomly. I don't know.
It's a very British wet day, isn't it?
I think it might be some light snow. That I think actually, yeah, it is snow that day. Yeah,
there's one.
Bit of snow. That's probably the same day. Me on the roof.
Yeah,
roof garden in the snow. Yeah.
Yeah. Now we have the summer here. Oh,
got the summer there. It's in the spring. Yeah, that's before I had our table out. Yeah, that's the view down to the river, nice and high. Yeah, it's a good town for walking. There's nowhere flat actually. Most of Devon is you're either going up a hill or going down a hill. So good exercise, keeps you fit.
Yeah, that's great. Great. Anthony, let's go for the other pictures you sent me here.
Okay. Yeah. Well, this is from Japan now. Yeah, I mean,
life in Japan.
My life in Japan, but you're talking about music, just my love of music, as you know. Of course, I like teaching, but music is something I just love. And
was this your band in Japan?
Oh no, I wish this was my band. This is probably the world's greatest saxophone player if I had in this band. So this was quite a small place. This is a great thing about Japan. You had lots of I think Japan per head of capita, they consume more music. They spend more money on music per person than anywhere else in the world, more than Americans and English people, Germans, or anything.
Yeah.
So they're just like fanatical, and you can always find some subculture in Japan that supports something, even however small. And this was quite a small place. It's a famous little jazz spot called Candy, and the owner there is in the middle, Hayashi-san, and the woman, she owns it. And this tiny little place, you can probably get 30 people inside.
Wow.
But she attracts people, really great jazz players from all over, Sonny Murray, and this is Peter Brotzman, who's the big guy with the grey beard, and this Hano Shoji on the left, is an unbelievable jazz drummer. So she attracts all these people, and it just felt like a secret club. So I could go there often and see these, some of the, seriously the greatest musicians that are alive in this tiny little place, almost like done as a favor and played as a favor. Felt like in your living room. So that's a place I miss. I miss a lot. But there were lots of places like this in Japan, lots of little jazz spots and underground music venues. So for a music lover, there's nowhere like it. And so many live venues, so many small live venues. Fantastic.
I have a friend here in Belo. He plays the drums, and they went on tour in Japan.
Oh yeah,
for a few days, and they played in a very small places like this.
Yeah.
Kind of small theater as well. Like, people would stay in a kind of U shape.
Okay.
Very nice, but very small.
There's so many of them. You get, of course, arenas and bigger size theaters and so on, but there's so many places for small underground thing. And the weird thing is, like in New York or London or Paris, it's impossible for a small place that plays free jazz to stay open in central London or central, New York. The rent is going to kill you. You can't survive these kind of. But in Tokyo, for some reason, they can. They're able to carry on, and they seem to manage with 30 customers, and it's a really kind of living part of the culture, and
Great.
a great thing. So that's how I spent most of. I would sometimes go to 60, 70, 80 gigs a year.
Wow.
When I lived in Tokyo, and it was quite expensive, but I guess that's how they survive. I don't know how much it is to go to a gig but 25, 30 pounds. It's a smallish venue.
Yeah, very nice.
But brilliant, yeah.
And that's the reason you moved to Japan, isn't it?
Music was, you cut to my in-laws then, but I did actually. It was the main reason I wanted to go to Japan was music. I got like an album which had all these people like Haino Keiji and Otomo Yoshihide and Ground Zero and these names, and I thought, wow, if this crazy music is going on in Japan, what's going on there? It's like so far ahead of anything I'm hearing in Europe or America, and what is going on. And when I got there, I realized that's why you can have such a rich musical culture and so much the underground is so healthy and large. Yeah.
And you met your wife in Japan, or
I did. You
met her before?
No, I met her in Japan. Yeah, just after a couple of years there. So Kazuko, that's our wedding day. In a Japanese, we married in a
Japanese lake in the background.
It's a little pond, yeah. And this is a place called Rikagien, which is like called a strolling garden. So it's a beautiful 17th century garden. It's designed to be walked around, and you walk around and stop, and there are particular views at different places. And but that's in Tokyo. Beautiful garden, yeah. And we got married in a little tea house there, yeah.
Yeah, and her parents are still alive?
Yeah, they are, yeah. It's my father-in-law.
Coping well with the pandemics and everything?
Yeah, difficult. I mean, Japan has done okay with the virus relatively.
Yeah.
The number of deaths and the number of cases is pretty low. And they haven't locked down like the UK has locked down. And they haven't tested like, say, South Korea has tested. But I think they probably it's such a clean place. Levels of hygiene are very high. Personal hygiene, people wear masks anyway.
Yeah.
I think the amount of flu in any given year is always incredibly low. Days lost at work to flu is very low in Japan and so on. So I think they just seem to be able to manage this spread. People wear a mask just because they're conscientious about other people, not for themselves. And just places incredibly clean.
But numbers are rising in Europe again, isn't it? Unfortunately.
Yeah. We're getting like, I think 18,000 people yesterday, new cases a day. I think the only good side, it looks like the death rate is a little bit lower at the moment, touch wood. So it looks like, I was talking to my aunt who's in that field the other day, and she said, definitely the cocktail of drugs and people have learned from the first wave seem to be helping now. But it's going to be tough for the hospitals to cope again.
Yeah. And I was reading yesterday or the day before, and the researchers there, they've been making, and with not non-serious cases, they're seeing that some manifestation afterwards, like 5-6 months later. In the brain and other organs too.
Yeah, I've read something of those things.
They say that
on the lungs and your kind of stamina, and
people would have Alzheimer earlier than before.
I saw some study about concentration levels and things. But I do know there's quite a few people I know personally who had it, and quite worrying that I know people who are younger and fitter than me in their 40s. A woman and her husband who had it, and it took a long time to recover, and still they say 5 months, 6 months later they still feel weak and they don't have the same stamina and energy, and that's kind of worrying. People in their 40s to feel like that. So
terrible.
So you still got to be careful.
Okay, you have this Eden project.
Okay. Eden project is a little place in Cornwall, which is like a, I don't know what you call it, like a biodome, or a place where it's a place where they kind of study different vegetation plants from around the world. So there's like a tropical zone and so on. It's an interesting place. But I thought you needed a picture of me looking most like me, so that's why I sent you this one. I don't know why, really. Just
beautiful.
I thought you might think it was my house or something. Beautiful piece of polished wood. And quite very comfortable chair. That.
Okay. That's great. And here you teaching.
Well, I not many pictures of me teaching, so I'm not really teaching here. I think I'm giving out certificates to someone. This was at our summer school. We used to have a summer school every year, so in case this is a young Turkish student, I remember this is quite a few years ago, just showing her what it said, probably trying to say what it means on her report from her teacher or something. Those are always great fun, the summer schools, kids from different places coming together, meeting. Real kind of life-changing experience for so many kids. This is a young Turkish girl here meeting a Brazilian or some people from Chile or people from Switzerland. Fantastic experience, I think. And so I hope it can come back.
And you have your artworks, which
my artwork. Well, like I said, I trained as fine art was my background. I've always drawn and painted, and I did a fine art degree, so I've never stopped making art, painting. These are digital drawings, but
digital,
mostly abstract now. These are done very quickly. Usually, these are called yokes. So a yoke is like a restriction, like something. It's a restriction that you put on yourself. So I have about 10 different yokes, and the yoke, for example, will say 2 minutes circle 4 strokes or something like that. So I do something which is a circle, and these within 2 minutes, and then stop, and that's the end of it. And then you're left with lots of small improvised things. Some are more interesting than others. Some, for whatever reason, you don't like, or you don't need them.
Mm-hmm.
But in a way, it was a way to kind of, I guess, get closer to that feeling of improvised music. Where when you start to make improvised music, you don't know what it's going to look like. Most of it's not going to work,
Mm-hmm.
but you're kind of hoping for those. You play for 20 minutes, and there's 2 minutes which are special or different, and you couldn't have got there without the improvisation, without the unconscious aspect. And I think this happens because I can, because I've always been able to draw, and I can draw really well, and I can draw anything. By the age of 16, I was bored to death of drawing things, or drawing faces, or drawing stuff that looked like a photograph. It just seemed pointless. But I can still do it. But I don't really see why. I'm not interested in the results.
But no,
People always want to be, yes, so why don't you draw some faces, or can you draw my dog or something? But I just say, this is what cameras are for. But
yeah, beautiful. Have you done an exhibition or no?
Yeah, I do. Again, one thing I'm quite interested in is, my brother's an artist, a professional artist, and a really great artist, and
Really?
he does it all the time, and it's kind of his work. I don't really want it to be my work, because I like it. It's a bit like with the music I make. Ideally, I don't want it to be work. I don't want to have to do something like that for a job, because I'm worried it will ruin the feeling. I don't want someone to say, can you do this, and I'll pay you this to do this, because it's just it's going to change how I do something. So generally, I like to make things quickly. I sell them, but I sell them very cheaply, and because of that, I sell nearly all of them. I sell them quickly, £10, £15. I can always sell them. I don't like galleries that take 30% or put them in frames and charge £150. I don't understand it, and it's not really what I want to do. But there are some things I have exhibited, and but I have a kind of a problem with the art world in terms of commerce and what it is. I think it's kind of the thing that kind of spoils art. The minute commerce is involved, it's probably degraded what's happening for me. It's kind of a political view as well, but
yeah. And you also have a web page.
Web pages, yeah. That's I should update more. There's a web page of my art, and different things,
and it's called Saint Esprit's.
Well, no, it's not. Well, I think that's probably because my email address is Saint Esprit's, but my band name is Saint Esprit's, and has been for a long time. So the band name is Saint Esprit's, so I use it for my email. So I think it gets used for those.
All right. And is that a special name, Saint Esprit's?
Saint Esprit's is a very special name. It's well, I think when I was kind of starting making music, this is like 1994. The first thing, because I've been obsessed with music for a long time. The first thing I thought is, you have to find a name that can't be confused with something else. That when people are looking for it, they won't. This is very lucky, actually, because now people look online. So if you Google Saint Esprit's, it's quite easy just to find our music. You're not going to find other things really. So it was partly that. I like the word Santa because I like Christmas, and one of my favorite records is a Phil Spector record, Phil Spector Christmas album, A Christmas Gift for You, and Santa was from that. And Sprees is just a word that I love. Spree is just like a really joyous kind of word, and a kind of something where you abandon daily life and you go on a spree. Yeah, sprees are never boring. Sprees are always fun and reckless and a bit stupid. So that seems to fit. Yeah. And the final reason was I like watching films, and there's a French film director called Robert Bresson. He's one of my favorite directors, and I watched his films, and I always notice when they'll be talking about there'd be lots of priests in his film, lots of religious people, and the priests would say Saint Esprit, which is the Holy Ghost is a translation in English, I guess. And Saint Esprit and Saint Esprit always sound quite similar, so I quite like that sound. Right. Something was similar there. So yeah, I never do anything without thinking for a long time, apart from painting. Yeah, but Saint Esprit. But yeah, so we've made lots of records, and
and
over the years, and this is the new, perfectly on cue. There it is for the plug. So the newest album is called Sum Total of Insolent Blank. Available on any platform. Yeah, Sum Total of Insolent Blank, which is well, sum total just means the total at the end of something. The insolent blank, actually, I don't usually explain titles for things, but I will because it's special exclusive. But insolent blank comes from I once got a report. It's a university. I think it was my first year at university, and I wasn't the nice, polite person I am now. And I was a real kind of problem kind of student, I think. And in my report, it said one of the tutors had written, "Anthony is an insolent shit." And so I always kind of quite like this word insolent. Insolent means kind of rude and answer back, or very clever or something. And so the insolent blank, I didn't want to put shit in the album title, so I put insolent blank to replace shit. So that's kind of why insolent blank. But
that's good.
It was a good report.
The teacher's comment, made a trauma on you for the rest of your life.
It's good though. It's very professional. I don't think you'd be able to do that. I mean, I think the report wasn't for me to see. It was to someone else or something. And my tutor read it out. He said, "Well, Terry in graphics says you're an insolent shit," or something like that. But I probably was. I think I was. Still am on occasion. Yeah.
Okay. Can you play the video?
Yeah, go on.
Okay, let's go.
So let's go back to normal.
You from my house in Japan.
Shallow actor. Of course, we put on weight. We live on wedding cake, getting married every day. I struggle, I struggle. Can't leave it alone to be world adrift. Wittgenstein found a kind. Cannot comprehend these things. I know how to do this. I know the home hell won't help. making plans to drink sherry in Spain. There's no way to add up a lump sum for that figure will appear again.
Perfect commercial. Yeah. Because the album was so long, 43 songs. I thought it was a good idea to make a very short preview so people can, if you watch the short preview, you can learn if you hate it quickly that way. Yeah. So you can realize, well, I hate this. At least it's 2 minutes you've wasted instead of.
Oh, that's nice. And you have it on all these platforms here.
Yeah, the streaming. I mean, Bandcamp is the most important one these days for people because that's the one that the artists have the most control over and the most revenue from. But
Really?
it's selling pretty well. There is a CD version as well, but I didn't make many CDs, so just 50. The sales are pretty good. I mean, I self-released it, so it's doing pretty well for a self-release and getting played. I think it's getting radio play. It's got like 70 odd times on the radio in different places all over the world. I think one of the reasons is it's got lots of short songs, so it's quite useful for a DJ to have like a 40-second song or a 30-second song. Is like, I've got this little bit before the adverts, or it may be quite useful. So that's a tip for musicians in making short songs. There is one song which is 7 seconds long, and there's a great station in New Jersey called WFMU, and a great DJ there, Ken Friedman, played 5 songs, and I think all 5 was only 1 minute 30 seconds. So this is very quick. I don't know what his listeners thought of it, but but it's good. But again, it's not really a bit like the art. I don't particularly want to worry too much about the commercial things or the money thing or the being a job. It's just for itself and
expression.
But it's nice when people hear it. But
And you did everything. You mean the editing, the music,
video? Yeah. It's fairly basic.
Play all the instruments. That's your voice singing.
Yeah. It's pretty much everything. Yeah.
I thought it was John Lennon. The voice.
Yeah. Well, I guess this is similar accent. I guess. Yeah. But yeah. I mean, it's sometimes difficult that the last person to ask about then music is usually the person who made it, because they have no idea really what it sounds like. They're too close to it. Yeah. So quite often people say, "Oh, this sounds like this," or "This sounds like this music," and it's very difficult to judge sometimes. Yeah. I have lots of people saying, "Yeah, I can tell it's really strong Japanese influence," and I just say, I can't hear it at all. But
really?
I don't know. Yeah,
some people say that strong Japanese. Wow, I didn't.
I think it's. I don't. I think they're just projecting. But it's difficult. I mean, I think when you talk about music or write about music, there's a danger that you kind of make it seem smaller. There's always a danger that people reduce it in some ways. So lots of, well, for example, if I think on all of these platforms, probably on Spotify or something, people have asked me which playlist shall I put this in? Spotify, should it be in rock or pop or experimental or avant-garde? And I got no real idea. I don't listen to popular music, no interest in that kind of music much. I don't really know what's happening.
Yeah.
In a way, but the music I listen to is not really how I listen to lots of jazz and soul more than anything, but it doesn't sound anything like the music I make because I can't make it. I don't have the skill to make jazz records or something. Yeah.
And you have a huge collection too, haven't you? Or you used to have.
I have had. Yeah, I've got. Yeah, I mean, tons of music. I mean, I probably had like 5,000 LPs. I've got 4,000 CDs left, and tons obviously on hard drives and things. But I'm not really a collector. I like finding songs, individual songs, more than albums and things that are special. And yeah, occasionally I panic and think, God, maybe I found all the great songs. Maybe I found them all. You know, you get this fear that, because you definitely think when you're young that it's never going to run out, and it's nice to keep finding new things. I don't really go back and listen to old things too much, so I like that feeling of, wow, there's just here's another area I've never listened to, and yeah, and listening to things as wide as I can, and weird, but I'm not just weird. I always like things that are singular. I always use this word singular, so it's like, wow, this doesn't sound like anything else. I can't even process this. I just heard this new thing, and I don't know what to think of it because I can't place it. I can't. The problem is the more you listen, a lifetime of listening to music, you can process everything. I can process microtonal things or 12-tone things, or places from unusual cultures that you're not exposed to, and you can kind of process it quickly. So my favorite feeling is hearing something and just saying, what is that? What is that? I don't know what that is. Where did that come from? And occasionally you get that with modern music or something you missed in the past. So that's my favorite thing, I think. Yeah, that kind of singular sensation. Yeah.
Great, good. Well, we're reaching nearly 2 hours.
Wow,
But it's a good chat. It's nice that we don't have any commitment with time, length, and everything, and to be commercial. And
yeah, this is a great platform. It's a great thing you're doing. Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's lovely you're doing so many different types of talks as well. It's going to be a really nice archive of things, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah,
really good. I'm going to go back and listen to some of them. But there are others in English, Alicia? Did you do any others in English? Or
no? That's the first one in English.
So that's.
But I think you can put subtitles on them.
Yeah. Okay. That'll be great. Yeah, I'll definitely share it around and get people to have a look. Yeah, it's a great thing.
And I hope we can have you here again, to chat again soon.
Yeah, it'd be nice. Anytime.
Yeah.
2 hours is not enough, you're saying?
No,
yeah.
no.
I mean, I'm not. I'm not a talkative person at all. I always think I'm a quiet person. So it always comes to me when I've found like I've spoken for 2 hours and just think, God, shut up. Yeah.
No, that's right. Your voice is like a
sedative.
rock in the cradle, like.
Okay. Yeah, I've not heard that before.
Good like that.
Yeah.
So keep using mask. Yeah.
Of course.
Take care.
You too.
Safe. Say hello to your wife again.
Yeah, say hello to Vada. Thank you for all the people who are joining us, Mel and Vada, and your cousin. You said was on there.
Yeah. She lives in London. Yeah.
Cool.
Camila.
Hello to all the people in Brazil. So many people I know and love in Brazil. Such a fantastic country. One of my favorite places. Yeah,
I hope to see you again here.
I'd love to come back.
We finished all this craziness and
it's got to end. Crazy's got to end, doesn't it?
Yeah. Sometimes I get the feeling it will never end, but anyway.
Yeah.
In Brazil, we say, let's keep fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, we say the same. Yeah. We live in hope. Yeah.
Okay, Anthony, thank you very much once more
for
taking part of this.
You're
and
welcome.
Thank you to everybody that's watching and everybody that will watch later, the recording. Okay.
Great.
And to see you again soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.